Good afternoon, everybody. I am Bratiti, and on behalf of the Society of Innovation and Entrepreneurship and our participating big associate partners and ecosystem partners, we extend you a warm welcome for today's session. I'm going ahead and sharing my screen. Today, we are fortunate to have the support of the following big associate partners: the Aspire Bionest Incubation Center, which is the life sciences incubator associated with the University of Hyderabad; Venture Studio associated with Ahmedabad University; and the BSc Bionest Bioincubator located at Faridabad. Together with the big partners, the associate partners are a very useful resource in terms of mentoring, handholding, and incubator support to help navigate your way through the big grant. Today, we would also like to acknowledge the support of our ecosystem partners: IIT Bombay, NIPER Ahmedabad, the Savli Technology and Business Incubator, the Sri Chitra Tirunal Institute for Medical Sciences and Technology, and NITHA, soon to be deemed university. Each of these incubators can provide you access to their advanced research facilities and other infrastructural support for the execution of your big grant. So please reach out to them for this grant and check out their websites for more information. Today, I would especially like to thank all of the incubation managers, the faculty, and other point of contact people who helped me put together this session today. My warmest thank you to all of you for helping this session become a reality. As most of you know, the 19th cycle of the big grant opened on August 1st and will close on the 15th of September at 5:30 p.m. There are normally two calls for this grant. One in January, normally it's January 1st, and one in July. And the entire process currently takes about 5 to 6 months to complete. But because of the constraints brought about by the ongoing pandemic, there can be some unexpected delays. Today, we hope to provide you with a broad overview of this grant and share our experience through the Q&A session. Please post your questions in the Q&A box at the end of my presentation, and I will try my best to resolve them here. Any unanswered questions can be redirected to us over email for further clarification. Also, if you wish to contact any of the associate partners and incubators participating today, please reach out to us and we will connect you to them. When an applicant is choosing to apply to big, there are two entities that they need to select right at the beginning. The first is the big partner, and often the roles of these two are a little bit unclear, especially to first-time applicants, and I hope to clear some of that confusion here today. First of all, when you're applying, you will need to choose a big partner in your application. Now, there are 8 big partners across the country, and the selection is based on a variety of criteria, solely dependent on who you want to associate with through your big journey. Now, what the big partner's role is to help you throughout the process of application and evaluation, where we communicate the results of every stage of evaluation. And eventually, once you get the grant, we do the due diligence, we disperse funds to you and monitor progress. We also provide access to our network throughout your journey as the startup in the initial phases of big, with whatever help you might need. Now, the second entity that you have to select at the beginning, or at least identify a potential incubator at the beginning, is you need to identify an incubator at the beginning, basically because this is where you will carry out the majority of the work of your project. And the incubator will provide you access to their infrastructure and network, help you with follow-on fundraising, and handhold you through the process. When applying, you need not be incubated anywhere, but what you do need is to identify an incubator and acquire a letter of intent from them. What this letter of intent does is tells the incubator that if you are a successful big grantee, they are going to accept you in their pre-incubation program to carry out or execute your project. Now, to select the big partner, you don't need any documentation to support that selection. The first incubator that we will highlight today is the Aspire Bionest Bioincubator. This is the best emerging bioincubator as determined by BIRAC in 2021. This supports focused projects in the areas of agriculture, biopharma, healthcare, industrial biotech, and other biotech domains. It has since supported the development of 10 products and 29 startups, out of which 11 have graduated successfully from their incubation programs. They also provide complete upstream and downstream processing of biotech products, animal and cell culture facilities, and BSL-2 facilities, also walk-in cold storage and utility areas. Besides all of this infrastructure, can also provide you with immense mentoring and other support that you might need in your big journey. So please reach out to them and see if they're a suitable incubator for you, and as well as a big associate partner. A big associate partner is the Biopharma Incubation Center at NIPER, Ahmedabad. This incubator is focused on pharmaceuticals, medical devices, and other aspects of biotechnology. They offer you facilities in the term of lab and office spaces, as well as an animal house facility, which is very useful for those working in this area. Amongst other services, they also have a pre-incubation, incubation programs, mentoring, hand-holding, and business and legal support that you might require at the initial stages of your journey as a startup. Next, we come to the Venture Studio associated with Ahmedabad University. It is again an incubator that is dedicated to fostering and developing innovative entrepreneurial ventures. They provide 360-degree support ranging from not only funding at different stages of product development, but also personalized and which will come in very handy during the big grant when you're applying for it. They also provide cutting-edge facilities for product development and are supported by Bionest and the DST Plus programs. They can also help you further fundraise and provide other kinds of guidance that you might require. So please contact them if they are suitable for you. The next big associate partner is BSc Bionest Bioincubator, situated at Faridabad in the National Capital Region in the Biotech Science Cluster. They are funded by a lot of government schemes, by BIRAC, by Bionest, and other governmental schemes. They have a huge facility and can provide you with all sorts of infrastructural support and other instrumentation, expert scientists in that cluster. They can provide you access that would help you come up with innovative solutions in this area. Please contact them. In our near vicinity, we have the Institute of Chemical Technology, which is one of the premier higher education institutes in the country in chemical engineering, chemical technology, and pharmaceutical scientists. They have produced more than 500 first-generation entrepreneurs, which is a very commendable feat. The exciting new development is they now have their own incubation center, which is called ICT NICE, and you can reach out to them if you need any support and access to their network. Our next ecosystem partner is TimeEd. They have been involved in developing medical technologies for a long time. They have an immense network and infrastructural support for medical device development. They have dry and wet labs. They can help you with the regulatory guidance for medical devices, which is a very useful service, guidance on how to acquire patents, clean room facilities, in vivo efficacy evaluation, both with large and small animals, again, very useful in this field of innovation. And you can avail all of their accredited facilities through them, and also avail of mentoring and help with branding, networking, and marketing support. They're also supported through a lot of governmental programs. Our next ecosystem partner is Savli Technology and Business Incubator, supported by the government of Gujarat. One of the key major features that they offer that will be useful to our potential big applicants today is they help you to carry out a freedom to operate analysis, which is a very important step when you're thinking of IP generation through big. They can also support you throughout the development or your journey as an entrepreneur from the ideation to the final launch of the product. And at every step, they provide you with funding, infrastructural space, technology mentoring, and any other kind of handholding and support that you might require. If you want to request an LOI from them, please go to their site and apply. Next, we have Nitya, which is soon to be deemed a university. This is a medical university, but that covers areas of dental, pharmacy, physiotherapy, nursing, biomedical, and supports a 1,000-bed tertiary care hospital and about 21 rural health centers. So they are very focused on enabling translational research and technology that involves multidisciplinary domains and that can help bridge the gap between academia and industry. So please reach out to them, especially as a potential big client, if you need access to clinical trial facilities and access to their Center for Animal Research and Experimentation and the other centers that can help you, and also their research facilities that can help you further your big project. With that, I come to SINE. SINE is the technology business incubator associated with IIT Bombay. Since its inception in 2004, SINE has strived to enable entrepreneurs with deep tech solutions that will contribute to IP creation with a social, economic, and strategic impact. Although initially set up to help our faculty and students in their entrepreneurial journey, it is now open to all, and we have supported more than 300 startups in a sector-agnostic manner and have also facilitated government support to a host of our incubators. Now, within the IITB network, we have a host of internal sources where we can help entrepreneurs, through which we can help entrepreneurs, and we can also tap into our external ecosystem of which is a rich network of mentors, experts, IITB faculty, and alumni. We also provide infrastructural support such as state-of-the-art R&D facilities, and we can also access many of the R&D facilities within the campus, and we make it available to those incubated with us. And also our vast network of investors, legal, IP, and industry connect. We also have cross-border collaborators that can help bring exposure to your product to the international market. So from start to scale, we support the entrepreneur through 3 stages or 3 programs. Firstly, pre-incubation, where we do the initial handholding, mentoring, exposure to seed funds. And then through the incubation period, which is a period of 3 years, we help provide lab and manufacturing facilities for prototype development. And finally, we help accelerate the product's entry to the market through programs that are designed to do that. We also hold frequent training and bootcamp sessions to bring young entrepreneurs up to speed with current market scenario and trends, and set them up with tools necessary for their success. We also provide access to our well-equipped biolabs, electronic metalworking, and prototyping facilities. Besides that, any other lab equipped with certain equipment that an incubator may need, we provide access. So we, to the audience today, we ask you to please choose us as your big partner. What do we offer? We provide mentoring and hand-holding throughout the application and evaluation process. You can talk to our team. You can gain insights into how to write a better proposal. You can have us look over your draft. And we have want to ease your journey even in the latter evaluation stages. We have access to in-house mentors and also faculty on campus that we often reach out to help us help you get better prepared to make your technical presentations. You can also navigate your big journey better with peer-to-peer learning from other grantees in our system. Our big grantees are also taken through special boot camps with our in-house mentors to better acquaint them with the knowledge and tools that is needed for success in a young startup's journey. Now, if you look at the other BIRAC schemes, at every stage of your innovation, you can be supported through BIRAC. At the initial stages, you have a student fellowship such as EUVA and SINE that students can avail of, and that give you a quantum of funds up to 15 lakhs. Big is the first early stage grant that gives you a good quantum of funds for establishment of proof of concept. There are other funds available through seed programs that will also help you at this initial stage. Now, once your prototype is ready to launch and you also have a startup, you can go for other advanced follow-on runs like SIBRI or BIP. BIP is especially a matching run where the amount of funds that you raise are matched by and that you need for product development are matched by the government. And as you proceed further and further into the final stages of your product, the quantum of funds available through BIRAC programs also increases, and they help you scale up and commercialize it. Commercialize, also validate your product on a large scale. Now for if you're trying to figure out which brand, which BIRAC brand is suitable for you, the first thing to look at is the technology readiness level for your product or your technology. For big, especially, it should be below 4. So that because you've not yet established your proof of concept, and that is what you're seeking these grants for. So it's an early stage grant, so your TRL level cannot be higher than 4. This grant does not allow field tests for product validation, so only a small level validation is supported, often up to the preclinical trial level if you're going for an innovation in the healthcare. Now, the Biotechnology Admission Run is a flagship scheme by the Department of Biotechnology. It aims to help young entrepreneurs establish a proof of concept for their innovation and take it to market. So the focus here is commercialization. Now, a thing to remember here is, like I mentioned before, there are 2 calls for this scheme. Once at the beginning of the year in January, and one and excuse me, and it is meant to support young or established academicians and young startups with 50 lakhs for the execution of their proof of concept in 18 months. Currently, the 18th call is coming to an end, and the 19th call, like I said before, has just launched. So please go ahead and apply. If you want to wait for another call, then you have to wait till January. By any metric of evaluation, the big grant has been a successful initiative. You should aim to apply for this grant, because what it does is it gets your foot through the door and brings you national visibility for your product and technology, and also will help you secure other BIRAC funds in the future, since you already have successfully landed the first step for the first round in this process. So BIG so far has supported more than 125 startups and led to the launch of more than 50 products in the market. Now, if you're considering applying for this grant, please check out the list of categories that are supported by this grant, and that information will be available on the BIRAC page. Just to give you a brief overview, there is MedTech, which covers medical devices, diagnostics, drugs and drug delivery systems, and regenerative medicine, to name a few. We also have agriculture and allied themes covering secondary agriculture, animal husbandry, aquaponics, and so on. You can also have projects in industrial biotech or environmental sciences covering waste management, sanitation, and clean energy solutions. If you are, on the other hand, developing a software, AI, ML, or IoT-based solution, but that has a biotechnological application in any of these domains, you can apply as well. Now, to figure out which scheme your application would be a better fit for, if you have any doubts about that, please reach out to your big partner and they will help you find the right scheme fit for you. Now, you can apply for this grant under 2 categories. One is the individual and one is the company. And I will just briefly go over the requirements for each of these. For both cases, whether you're a PI applying on behalf of a company or you're an individual applicant, you have to provide a passport as your proof of nationality. So if you do not have a passport, or it's expired, or you are in the process of application, you have to, at the time of application or when the big partner seeks it, provide some evidence that you are going to apply or for a fresh passport or for the first time, and that you have to provide that declaration on a 100-page stamp note. So it is, if you don't have a passport currently, you can also share an Aadhaar card as a placeholder while you apply for the passport. Now, if you're an individual, the minimum educational qualification required for eligibility is a completed undergrad degree. If you are a stakeholder in other companies and you hold more than 20% stake in any other company, then you have to apply as a PI on behalf of that company, and you cannot apply as an individual anymore. Ideally, you should not be a one-member team. You should have, your team should be composed of team members with complementary skill sets. I've pointed out this before. If you're applying as an individual, you have to show that you will have access to an incubator if successfully granted. So you have to obtain an LOI and upload this together with your application. If you are employed in academia, if you're a faculty or a student, you have to apply for a no objection certificate and upload this as well with your application. Now for faculty, since you have teaching and research responsibilities, and you will not be able to devote your time full time to this project, your NOC should allow you to hire team members who can execute the project under your supervision, and the institution that you're employed with should allow you to apply for this grant and devote whatever little time you need to this grant. So if you're privately employed, so you do not have to quit your job, but what you have to do is get permission from the institute that you will hire team members and carry out the execution. It will not affect your daily duties. Now, if you are privately employed, you have to provide a declaration that once you get the grant successfully, that you will be quitting your current employment and devoting your time fully or be a full-time, devote your time full-time to the execution of your big project. Now with company, the amount of documentation that you have to share with BioRack increases. So you have to provide company officials and financials and other documents such as memorandums of association, articles of association, shareholding patterns, and so on. Now the age of your company is very vital. So from the call date, you should calculate the age of your company, and it should not be more than 5 years of age. Beyond 5 years, you're considered ineligible. Also, if you are applying as a PI of a company, you should share. You should hold some shares in that company. The minimum amount is not stated by BioRack, but you should have some amount of shares in the company for you to be eligible to apply. If you are stakeholders in other ineligible biotech companies or biotech companies that are older than 5 years, then you are automatically not eligible for this grant. So please disclose any shareholding patterns that you hold in other biotech companies at the time of application. However, this rule does not apply for non-biotech companies. And any clarification regarding your eligibility for this grant, again, reach out to your big partner and they will help you. And any supporting document that needs to be provided, they will ask you to provide it. Now, this is a very competitive grant, and after the online review stage, almost 50% of the candidates find themselves not qualified to go on to the technical expert panel, but which is why it is very essential that when writing the grant, you write a very solid, very technologically sound and sound from even business aspects of the grant. Write it really well so that you can make it to the final round. Now I will just go through the different stages of evaluation. The first and very initial stage is the evaluation of your written proposal happens and your documentation happens to the preliminary screening committee. Now here we look at the basic eligibility, whether you're eligible to apply in the category that you selected, whether you've provided the supporting documents that are sought in that category, whether your scheme fit as you have selected it for your proposal is the right scheme fit. And also these days, non-plagiarism declaration is asked of all applicants. Also, we check to see if you provided sufficient content in your written proposal for it to be evaluated in the subsequent stages. So after this preliminary screening, which takes a couple of weeks, if any document is missing or if any changes need to be done, your big partner will reach out to you and ask for the missing documents, and you should be ready to provide it at the earliest possible. Now from here, if you're found eligible and the first screening, you've crossed the first screening, you move on to the online review phase. Here, all the proposals that were received by BIRAC are segregated as per the category. So the 5 categories are medical devices, diagnostics, drugs, industrial biotechnology, and agriculture and allied areas. So all proposals are segregated into these 5 thematic areas. They're randomized and they are sent to domain experts who then look over the proposals, the written proposals, to see if they have sufficient technical detail, if the novelty, feasibility, technical and business feasibility of the project. They look at the team's strength and market potential, as well as any preliminary data that is provided. So on the basis of BIRAC approved criteria, they score under each category. And finally, the geometric mean from 5 or more reviewers gives a certain final score to the applicant. And based on the threshold that is decided for that particular theme, the applicant either makes it or does not make it to the technical expert panel round. Now, if you do not make it to the next round, the big partner will communicate the concerns of the reviewers that were raised, and you can carefully consider them and reapply in the next cycle. Now, if you move on to to present before the technical expert panel, which is the next round, here again, these panels are segregated thematically. So in your particular theme, you will have to, because right now, because of the pandemic, everything is virtual, there you have to prepare an 8-minute recorded presentation that will be played before the panel. And this will be followed by a 20-minute question and answer session where you and your team members, up to 3 team members are allowed. So when I say team members, you can also allow your mentors to help you out there. And you will field questions from the technical expert panel. And within that 20-30 minutes that is given to you, you will defend your proposal. Again, the panelists will be scoring you. And when you get the final score based on the threshold set for that particular theme, you are considered recommended for the consideration by the expert selection committee. Now, the expert selection committee is composed of the chairs and the co-chairs of each thematic technical expert panel. So they finally, depending upon the amount of funds available and for each theme, they set a high enough cutoff, and the people who make that cutoff, the final decision of granting the grant is then conveyed to them through the big partner. Now, from the time that you are successful, from the time that you've applied to the final decision and release of funds, it normally takes 6 to 8 months. Ideally, currently because of the pandemic, there are some unforeseen delays, like I said. Otherwise, this entire process should be over by 5 to 6 months. Now, once you are a successful grantee, the big partner that you've applied through will carry out due diligence, make sure all your documents are in place, and then they will start dispersing your funds. And these will be released in 3 tranches, and all 3 tranches there will be a progress review where it will be milestone based. So they will see whether you've been able to satisfy the milestones that you set out for that particular 6 months. If you've satisfied them, then the fund is released. Now, who are the evaluators? BIRAC normally keeps at every stage of your evaluation. It is a mixed bag of domain experts, investors, business leaders, and IT experts. And 5 out of these 5 or more reviewers. So at the online review stage, it is 5 or more. At the technical expert stage, it is normally 8 panelists who are present there. And this mix is purposefully kept diverse so that they can look at your innovation from every angle and determine the success or the potential success of your startup. But please be prepared at every stage for your application to be viewed by technical experts in that particular domain. So please keep the technical and business aspect of your application very sound. Again, the scoring is based on BIRAC approved criteria, and we'll go over them very quickly. And also, at every stage of evaluation, if you don't make it to the other stage, or if you do, you always will receive feedback, which will be a compilation of all the comments that the reviewers have provided. Now, the evaluation criteria are basically these 5. These are BIRAC criteria. So at every stage of the evaluation, the evaluator is looking at these aspects. So the first most important point, of course, is technical viability. So the technical feasibility of your project, the science behind it, all of that should be very solid, because about 30% of all evaluation goes, or evaluation weightage goes to that. Also, the unmet need should come out very clearly. What is the critical unmet need that your solution is going to satisfy? Also, the novelty, the value proposition, and the differentiation from existing players in the market should come out very clear. The last 2 aspects, each of which has about 15% weightage, is your team strength and passion. And so please make sure you have a well-balanced team with, like I mentioned earlier, complementary skill sets, and add to that mentors and who are domain experts who can strengthen your background. Also, be very confident and defend your proposal to the best of your ability. So if they see about what you're undertaking, they are often appreciated. Also, last but not the least, the business perspective should be quite clear for your potential product. And so market potential should, you should have great clarity on what your go-to-market strategies are going to be, who are you targeting, and what is the market potential of your innovation. These aspects should be very clear. If you do not have the necessary expertise, again, please reach out to your big partner or your incubator and access their business mentors to solidify the part of the proposal. Now, there are certain pointers I will share with you today as to how, as we've seen from our experience, how you can write a book run and try to inspire. So what are the ingredients of a winning grant? So first and foremost is laying the foundation to a good grant is good writing. So I have seen this many times is when I talk to a potential applicant, they explain their knowledge very clearly. However, when I look at the written proposal, it is often quite muddled in what they're trying to say. And since this is the first thing that the reviewer is looking at, there can be certain confusions in what the technology is about, who the target customer is, what the business perspective is. And so I would ask you to please write and re-edit your grants. Please show the drafts to domain experts, to the person who is helping you with the business aspects, to your big partner, and be ready to change things to make them sound better and to make them come out clearly. The problem statement should be very clear. What exactly is the critical unmet need? What is the solution that you're providing? And what are the gaps in the existing solution? Also, who is your solution targeted to? Have you, for instance, if your solution is targeted towards clinicians, have you gone and spoken to them? Have you talked to a number of clinicians to know what exactly they need? Because that ground knowledge about any how your technology will eventually be deployed by the end user, knowledge of that is very important. I cannot stress this enough. The technological details in your written application should be very clear. So please use the right terminology, the right parameters for any particular domain. And again, take help if you are unsure about certain aspects, but you have to strengthen the technical aspects of it very solidly. First of all, sometimes as a young entrepreneur, you might not be that well versed in the business perspective of things, but your technology, you should be very well versed in. So you should be able to explain it well and be able to properly capture it in your written proposal. Also, the competitive landscape, who are your competitors in the market? What are they offering? What are you offering that can beat them? So if you were at the end of 18 months to launch your product, who would your direct competitors be, and what features are you providing that gives you an edge over them. The next point is completing all the sections. So please do not leave any section of this form incomplete. This is a very involved form with several sections. Please fill them to the best of your ability, and also provide all the supporting documents that are required. One of the supporting documents is a concept note. So this in brief gives the reviewer an idea about what you're proposing. So a nice visual representation with pictures, with the video, with the flow charts. Please explain your technology or your product very well, the design of it. If you don't have a prototype, just the design aspect of it, clearly labeled diagrams, those help. Next is the novelty mode. Here again, you're going to capture your competitive landscape and the parameters by which you're gauging how you're superior to them, or what are the aspects that you're addressing that they're not. So this is again a short capture of your competitive landscape that helps your application a lot. Also, there is a slide deck that is to be provided, and the format is provided by Bionet. So please follow that format and provide a crisp slide deck. Also, the roadmap. Where do you intend your startup to go? How are you going to, because in certain cases, only a certain bit of the validation is where you will stop at big, or you will develop just the initial prototype or the MVP at the beginning. So how will you move forward from there? That should be clearly laid out. Also, the roadmap for the 18 months. How are you? What are the timelines that you're going to take? What are the steps of your project that you're going to deal with 3 major milestones, which are the critical steps in your product or technology development. Now, the last and the most important of them is data supporting your claims and your team's expertise. So first of all, you will provide some general data to support your unmet need. So everybody is going to provide some statistics that will show how dire the unmet, how dire or critical the need is that they're addressing. So please cite the right references there when you're doing that. Next is the technical data. Here, if you've done a small scale proof of principle, or you're making some claims about your product or your technology, provides some amount of data to back up those claims. If you do not have data, or you have not performed any experiments or testing, please provide any support from literature that you can. Also, if you have any existing patents in the area, please, in the area or related areas, please kindly state this, because this helps a lot in showing the feasibility of you executing the project over the 18 months. The team and the mentors are very important. So please highlight the expertise of your team very well, and gather as many mentors that are appropriate for your particular domain as you can, and have them help you out throughout the application process too. Now, this was the written part of the proposal. You're actually presenting before the technical expert panel. You have to keep a few things in mind. First is answering crisply and to the point. So when they ask you a question, because the time is too short, don't give rambling answers and waste their time and increase their irritation, because they are seeing, they have a very short time and they're seeing multiple or evaluating multiple proposals in a day. So please write your answers to the point. If you need to elaborate further, go ahead and elaborate with their permission. Second thing is, you should have extreme confidence in the technique and clarity on your technology. So that should not, if they ask you technical questions, you should be able to field them to the best of your ability. You should prepare beforehand with have mock sessions with your big partner, with your mentors, and prepare with all possible questions. Also, you will receive some feedback from the online review. Make sure all of those concerns are addressed when you're presenting before the technical expert panel. You should have good awareness about the market, so they should not catch you unawares about your competition in the market, or the viability of a certain technology or product in the market. You should be aware of how well it's going to do, or what are the challenges you face. The novelty should be clearly brought out. Any patterns that you have should be mentioned. Also, if you have any feedback from potential users, and or you have certain industry collaborations that are critical for your product or technology launch in the market, please mention that. Now, in the technical details, we always suggest that you provide some preliminary data to support your claims, like I mentioned initially. This is a proof of concept establishment fund. And so you don't require, you should be allowed to get away with not providing elaborate data. But if you have a small scale proof of principle and some data to support some of the claims that you're making, you should definitely present them here. If you have a prototype or a technology that is easier to explain with the help of a picture, if you have a prototype, for instance, a short video demonstrating the use of the prototype, all of this will help them understand your technology in that small time and evaluate it correctly. Again, coming to the competition, what are your differentiators? Who are your end users? There should be clarity on this, and this should be as a part of your preparation for the technical expert panel. Again, I've already mentioned this for the team. Highlight your expertise and get mentors to join in whenever they can for these virtual meetings, so that if there is a question or there is for instance, let me give you an example. You have a solution that is that is an orthopedic that an orthopedician would appreciate, and they have given you positive feedback on it. If you have an orthopedic surgeon present there who supports that claim that you're making about your product, that will go along. Budgeting is also an important part of this grant. The total amount allowed to you is 50 lakh, but each of these heads, equipment, manpower, consumables, and so on, have an upper cap. So for equipment, please make sure you're allowed the maximum 30% of the project cost, but you have to make sure here that you're not budgeting for equipment in your incubator. Most Bionest supported incubators are very well equipped, so please do not budget for equipment that you might not be allowed and tie up the money there. At this stage of your startup, you should outsource as much of the testing, as much of the lab work as you can. What is absolutely necessary and what your incubator is equipped with, plan accordingly. For manpower, mentors and anybody with another source of income cannot draw any salary through this grant. Even if you draw a salary, it can only be 50K per month. Now, there are some flexible heads, and please apportion the upper cap for these heads so that you can move later on with justification money from those heads onto other heads to cover unforeseen expenses. Some of these are the contingency, some of these are the outsourced contingency and other heads. And so please budget accordingly. And like I pointed out before, your big partner can help you budget for your project. Also, please take into account incubation charges. Many applicants forget to include these. Have the incubator from whom you're obtaining an LOI. Please ask them what their charges are and budget that in. Also, for IP, please keep at least 1.5 lakhs for IP, because IP generation is encouraged by BIRAC through this grant, and it is definitely going to happen as you develop your product or you establish your proof of concept. So please keep some money for that. There is now a royalty clause added to this grant, but you have to worry about this only after you've started selling revenue generating. Then you have to pay 5% royalty until you match the aid that was given to you through this grant. Also, any payment that you get from technology transfer licensing. Now, I'll close by giving you some pointers about how to get this or some take-home messages from today's session. Please start your application process early. This very involved grant, like I said, it has several sections that will be carefully filled out if you stand a chance in proceeding through every evaluation step. So please take your time, write, edit, re-edit, and be prepared to change things as per feedback that you receive on these drafts. So give yourself enough time to do that. Get the necessary documentation you might need to upload. And so again, if you could exactly what you need to upload and you can prepare for it. All preliminary data, any validation that you've done on a small scale or any other supporting documents that show or that strengthen your proposal, you should upload it. You should highlight if you're finding advisors, please take their prior permission that they are so that they agree to be your mentors and advisors, because you will have to CVs and they can be inspired by that at any point. So please make sure that you're choosing advisors only with who are agreeing to be part of it. Please try to submit once. If you wait till the last minute, the portal sees a lot of traffic and you might see some unforeseen technical glitches, and that might be chance of applying in time. Please remember that the time is at 5:30 a.m. Finally, I would like to thank all of our participating big associate partners and ecosystem partners today. Thank you very much for your support in bringing this session to fruition. For your big related queries, please reach out SINE_big@SINEIITB.org. Many such sessions are already present in our SINE YouTube channel. So if you find the time, please go and look at these videos and get some of your questions answered. Also, please visit the SINE website for information not only about BIG, but other ones that are available. With that, I'll pause sharing and I will open up the session. Okay, so I'll take a couple of questions in the question and answer box. So how can we get Bionest in university? Again, the Bionest program, you have to, your incubator should qualify for this, and so you have to apply to BIRAC to do this whenever they launch this call for the Bionest. Where to apply for agriculture, agricultural and environmental research? Sumit Mishra has asked this question. I don't know if you for which big partner to apply to or which incubator to target. I did not quite get the question. So if you would like to raise your hand and ask the question, please do so yourself. From us, we have, when we join IITB SINE Innovation Center, what about IP rights? As we are working in IIT campus, means who is the IPR holder? Okay, so this is a good question because many of you are already associated with certain academic institutions. And then through this grant also, you're going to generate some IP. So let me just clarify a couple of things. For faculty, for instance, since you're employed by the institute, any IP that you generate through this grant will automatically go to the institute. And from there, you can license it out to your startup. IIT Bombay, for instance, has very clear licensing policies, and they actually encourage entrepreneurship and make this process very easy for a faculty to move around. Now, if you are, on the other hand, a student, the IP you generate through this grant will lie with you, because you will mostly be applying after like in the final years of your PhD or your master's. And so most of the time there, the IP generated through this grant will lie with you. Now, for you, since you're already a part of the IIT campus, the IP will, if so let me clarify one more thing here. The big grant, if you are carrying out research as a part of your PhD, you cannot have that as a big grant proposal. So it has to be an extension of your PhD or your postdoc work. And so automatically the work that you're doing is no longer the same. So for instance, if a PhD student is certain research project out of their thesis, that is automatically the IP lies with the institute, in this case IIT Bombay. And if they want to use any of the patents that they've generated or part of the innovation that they've done during their PhD work, they have to license it out to the Technology Transfer Office. Now, the same goes for most other universities. If there is something that has to be, but for the IP that you're generating through this grant, it mostly with you if you're an individual student applying for this, or in an individual, if you're employed as faculty, then initially it will lie with the institute and then be licensed out to you. And every institute will have its own policy that will allow that to happen. If the institute does not have IP rules or regulations or clear directions, then before you apply for this grant, you're applying for the NOC, kindly reach out to the appropriate authorities and clarify this right away. For instance, most institutes often have either a technology transfer office or an appropriate cell that deals with innovation. And so they can help you clarify as to what the institute policies are regarding that. And so you should do this while you're applying for your NSCs, clarify these with your institute, because we often have faculty asking, even receiving the funds in a no-lien account, which is a criteria for big. There are no overheads paid to the university, and often that is an issue. And so universities cannot understand why this is not like any other research grant, and they are not getting paid overhead. So please remember that the big grant is not like other research grants. So if you're in academia, the same rules will not apply, and your institute should be, so this should be clarified to the institute by you as an applicant, and you can cite the big guidelines for this. We have also helped in the past provide faculty with this clarification from Biotech, because often they need some sort of official corroboration that what they're claiming on behalf of big is what is actually going to happen, and that the role of the university in this and the IP generation and all of those issues need to be clarified right at the beginning. Next, it's a question by Atesh. Can the proposal idea be simple and effective to address a problem rather than being complex? Yes, it's the simplicity, or let me say the complexity of the idea is not what is going to hamper your ability to get the grant. It is how novel it is, how well differentiated it is, and its market potential that will help you land the grant. So you can have simple but effective ideas. That is not going to be a problem at all. This is a question from Ratish. Last time I applied for the BIRAC grant, they asked for the proof of concept and some correction related to market strategy. Can we apply again after making necessary correction? Absolutely. I encourage all participants who are here today, if you received some comments from your first or second application, please work on them, address them in your written and presentations, and show them that you worked on it. And they're more than happy to accommodate you if they see that you've taken their suggestions to heart and you've made changes, the necessary changes required. Also, if you're coming in a second and third time, make sure that you show some incremental data or some improvement that will give them the confidence that you weren't, that you are serious about your solution and you're trying to make it better, taking their suggestions to mind. Now, if anybody would like to ask a question live to keep it more interactive, please raise your hands and we'll allow you to ask the question live. While that is happening, I'll just take a few more questions. How many times in a year will there be a call for BIC? It's twice a year. 1st January and normally 1st July. This time there was a pandemic related delay and hence it was 1st August. But normally it's 1st January and 1st July. Last time I applied for the BIRAC grant, I've already answered this. Okay, again, another question from Ratish. I applied as in during last direct call, I started a new startup company. Can I modify my project and submit through my new startup company? Absolutely, Ratish, you can do that. We've seen applicants do that multiple times, because the first time they apply, they've applied to the individual but by the time the call comes around, incorporate their company and then they apply to the company. That is true. Dr. Khushbu Bhayani, mine is a vegan fish feed making company. Can I apply for it? Yes, absolutely, you can. We just need to see at what, again, the TRL level is important. So just give the big partner that you're selecting a call and share your solution with them, and they will guide you as to whether big is the appropriate grant for you, or if your product is more developed, if you need to move further up the BIRAC grant ladder, basically. We are a space science company. We build tools in space science. Can we apply? Again, this is a biotech grant. So if you are dealing with, if you're building tools in space, I don't see the biotech component in that. So we can have a discussion offline if you want, and we can see whether you're appropriate for this grant. Otherwise, there are other government grants that might be more suitable for you. Is it mandatory for the principal investigator to be the shareholder of the company? Saujanya is asking that. Yes, it is. I'll tell you why. It's because who has the technical expertise in that domain to stick through the 18 months of the project. For instance, if you're part of a company and you're employed by them, but you're not a shareholder, you can leave at any moment. So they don't want the success of the project dies. And so often when you're a stakeholder in a company, you have more, it is in your interest to see the launch or the development of the product or the technology. And in the past cycle, for instance, we had to disqualify a particular PI because the company wasn't willing to transfer shares to them. And so please, this is a very important criteria. So I ask everybody to please take a note that if you're applying on behalf of a company, you should share some, you should have some shareholding in that company. The minimum amount is not specified by BIRAC, so it can be a really small amount. It's not a problem. How much, Nikunj Bhagat has asked, how much detail should we include in the budget? Do we need a list? Do we need to list each and every item that we plan to spend the funding on? Nikunj, like I showed in that slide, you can provide a table exactly like that with the amount for each head. So you don't need to go into the details at this point. Once you get the grant, your big partner will sit over and should sit and finalize your budget with you. And there is when you will have to go into detailed justifications and detailed breakdowns. Somebody has asked a question, if as a startup they can apply for the grant. Yes, you can, but your startup should be less than 5 years old from the call of the cycle that you're applying to. If the grantee, Vivekanand Kattimani has asked, if grantee is from the institute, if the institute issued NOC, then how can be taken forward? If the institute has agreed to issue you an NOC, all you need to do is obtain that NOC and upload it with your application. And there will only be issues, there will only be, that NOC will only come into play if you're a successful grant. If not, then for the next cycle, you will have to obtain an NOC again. What about no lien account? Is institute having any locus even though they have given NOC to go ahead? Yes, so here again, I kind of brought up this point before. This is not like a research grant, so the money is going to go into the no lien account of the PI, and the institute is not going to be involved in this process at all. And so the NOC should be allowing you to do that. Most institutes are very encouraging of entrepreneurship, and so they know about this BIRAC big, and so they should be okay with giving you an NOC where the money will go into your no lien account. There's a question from Pravi Matthew. Our current startup is 6 years old. We have developed a prototype of a medical device. Can we show this prototype in the application while applying as an individual? If your startup is 6 years old, you are beyond the scope of big. So please move on to either CPRI or BIP according to where your prototype is. And so look at other grants. You will be considered ineligible, your company will be considered ineligible for big. Next, the next question is, from Omini is, we are planning for a startup. We were planning for medical devices. Can we apply for grant? In initial stages, how much grant can we apply for? Now, I would ask, because often we under budget ourselves, that you cover the cost of the entire 50 lakhs, because there might be a lot of unforeseen expenditures that you're not aware of. And so please budget for the entire 50 lakhs. And like I said, keep more money in the flexible head so that you can move money around as and when needed with the proper justification. If you are applying, if you have an innovation for a medical device, that is fine, you can apply. You don't need to have a startup at the time of application. You can apply as an individual, and as and when you form a startup, that conversion can happen. Okay, now I will take some questions from the chat box. I'm an academician working in Central Government Healthcare Institute. So am I eligible to apply for BIRAC? Yes, any academician working anywhere is eligible to apply for this grant, provided your institute provides you with the NOC and the required documentation and allows you to get this grant and execute it in an incubator with and hire team members and so on. I'm a faculty in National Lab. I've developed a product and have already filed for its provisional patent. I want to explore its translational part with an industry partner. Am I a good fit for this grant? Now, this is a very interesting question. If you have a product developed, again, talk to us and we can take offline, or talk to any of your big partners of choice to see what level your product is at. So if it's a crude prototype, you still need to refine it. You might do some small scale validation of it. This grant is cool for that. And it also gives you a certain quantum of funds to actually do that too. And so this has to be gauged depending upon where you are with your application and or with the product development. So you need to talk to your big partner regarding this. And as per the provisional patent, file for one, for any applicant, potential applicant today who file for a provisional patent, please mention this in your, okay, with the appropriate application number and what exactly it covers. Also, you should have some clarity about the IP strategy for the product that you will be developing or the work that you will be doing during the tenure of the big run. How many applications can I submit in current round? You can submit more than one application, provided they're in diverse categories. So we had an applicant last time who had one application that was in the industrial biotech category and the other that was in the drug category. So you have to make sure that you're not, that your two applications are significantly different from each other. Yes, we will post our email ID and I will encourage all our participating incubators and ecosystem partners to do the same. Please post contact information in the chat box for the benefit of the participants. Now, can I apply for IoT in based agri-tech solution? Yes, you can. That's the simplest answer to that. For post-harvesting technology of agricultural waste, to which incubator we could apply? Now, again, I'm going to answer the question in terms of big. So if you need a certain facility to carry out your work that involves processing of agricultural waste, you have to look for a suitable incubator that has the facilities that will allow you to do that, to carry out that work, and also outsource work. And similarly, you can select a big partner that you think will be able to help you through your agri-tech project. Can be in agri-tech if there is not biotech component specifically. So agri-tech is offline. RCS-based tech startups working in medical field allowed to apply for this. I suggest the right partner for environment. Am I audible? Sorry. I will repeat that question once more in case you all missed what I was saying. I was not audible. I was. Sorry, I'm just trying to come back to the question that I was answering. Yes. So it is very difficult to suggest a big partner to you because most big partners are sector agnostic, and a couple of them have focus areas and many of them don't. So the selection should be made by you. You can go to the websites of the big partners, see who their past big grantees have been, see what kind of support they provide, and have a chat with them. You can reach out to them and ask them what kind of support they provide and make the decision yourself. It is difficult for us to actually recommend big partners to you. On behalf of SINE today, who I represent, I can tell you that we are sector agnostic, and I've already mentioned the benefits that you get from being a part of our, or us choosing us as a big partner. If the participant is already a big grantee, then it is possible. Is it possible for him or her to apply for a new call? No, unfortunately, it isn't. In an applicant's lifetime, only one big grant can be given. So if you are a successful big grantee, you're automatically disqualified from all future cycles. So you can receive the big grant only once. If you want to, somebody's asked a question, if I want to set up a pathology lab with the BIRAC Big Fund, sorry, this is not what is supported. This is an innovation supporting grant, and so not to set up labs and stuff like that. So not capacity building in that sense. How many, yeah, I think I've already answered this question. I would encourage all applicants now to raise their hands and ask the question live. So there is a question in the Q&A box from Shushmita Chatterjee. Our company was formed on 6th February 2021. We have our own lab. Can I apply for grant without collaborating with Incubator? Absolutely. If you're a startup with your own incubator, you do not need to collaborate with any incubator. You can carry out the work in your own lab. If a startup, from Rajiv, the question is, if a startup is more than 5 years old, then which scheme is recommended? You can move on. Or if a startup is more than 5 years old, we're assuming that the product or technology that you're developing is at a higher TRL level, maybe of higher than 5 or 6. And in that case, grants like SIBRI or BIP are suitable for you. To all participants here, who are, if your product or technology is beyond the scope of big, please visit the BIRAC website, and they have listed all the grants that they have for every stage of your innovation. And so you can move on to the next grant and look at the eligibility criteria for those. What is the Namdev has asked this? What is the role of incubation after a product? Okay, I don't understand this question. What is the role of incubation sender after product successful incubation? So I'm going to answer this again in the context of big. So you will be pre-incubated with an incubator where you. So let me begin by saying that if you're not already associated with an incubator and you're using an incubator for the first time, you will enter into a pre-incubation agreement with them just to execute your big project with them. So once your big project is over, whether that incubator takes you on for further incubation is up to them. Otherwise, your association with them will end with the completion of your big project. I hope that clarifies your question. This is from Dr. N. Badalkar. Can a startup that has their own R&D lab but not DSI certified lab can still apply for BIG without being associated with any incubator? Yes, if you have your own R&D lab, even without DSI certification, you can apply for BIG. Any work that cannot be carried out in your lab, you can always outsource it. So for you, it is not critical to be associated with an incubator. If you want to ask me a question live, please raise your hand and we'll ask you. We'll allow you to unmute yourself and ask the question. Hi, Nikunj, you had a question. Please unmute yourself and ask.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. First of all, thanks for the great presentation. This is, I think, my second or third time attending your presentation, and every time I learn something new. So please keep on doing that.
Thank you.
So my question is, so I'm working on a medical device, and I understand that for the big grant, clinical trials are not supported, but they do support some like feasibility trials or like some,
up to the preclinical stage, they allow you.
Okay, so could you give some more details on what kind of tests? Like,
so again, it will be dependent on the project that you're doing. And why don't we take this offline? You contact me and we can discuss this at length. Is that okay?
Sure. Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Rajiv, you have a question? Please unmute yourself.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yeah. So we are actually in a different segment of products, and now we are starting to develop medical devices, but the startup is 6 years old. So how do we take this in the sense if we want to apply for a big grant just for the medical devices segment of it? Should we kind of float a new startup or something, or just not eligible?
No, I think if your technology is beyond the scope of BIG, which it seems that you're already, what is the TRL level right now, you think? Like just by your estimate?
So we are just starting off developing some devices which are IoT-based medical devices, so as to say. But the current company is basically into IoT, which is meant for, say, industrial purposes or applications, and nothing related to medical devices at all. So I mean, I went through the presentation that you have given, right? And you say that the startup beyond 5 years cannot apply, but the startup which is right now, which is 5 years old, is not into medical devices.
You are allowed then to apply. So in that case, so looks like you have a non-biotech company that is 6 years old. So all of the rules that I stated were for biotech companies. So you can now apply as an individual applicant, and then during the course of, if you're a successful grantee, you will now have a startup in the biotech domain. So you will have to have a new startup in the biotech domain.
But in the presentation somewhere you said that the stakeholder, if you are a stakeholder in another company, then you cannot.
That is exempt. Non-biotech companies are exempt from that rule.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Thanks, Dr.
Yeah. Thank you. Dr. Badalkar, you have a question? Please unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Thank you so much for the excellent clarifications that you have been giving, and thank you for an excellent session. I just wanted to make a point out there and ask. Uh, I have been a reviewer myself, but I find, with such excellent applications coming in BIG, is there anything that inhibits, say, for example, trials, etc., are discouraged? But then, do we have that anything above TRL 4 is not supported under BIG? Is there an inhibitive clause somewhere?
Yes, there is. There is, because this is an establishment of proof of concept grant. So it's a very early stage grant. So if you have moved beyond TRL 4, you have to move up the ladder, up the BIRAC funding ladder, and look at another scheme that is suitable for you. So this is from ideation to establishment of proof of concept. And so there is a stipulation in the big guidelines about what your TRL level ideally should be.
But when you have a look at the recent BIG grantees, I mean, of course, pre-COVID, but when you look at BIG grantees, they are those ones who are pretty advanced in their approach, in their TRL levels. Don't you think so?
So I agree with you to some extent. What happens is often people apply more than once, and by the time they're applying for the second or the third time, they've advanced a little bit more. And there is also this whole thing about data, right? So sometimes only those prototypes that are at some stage of development, or the technology that has some level of testing already done, is often supported. Now that gives the impression that almost like an advanced TRL level is being supported. But I think the thing there is it is difficult to gauge the TRL level, because as you're correct in pointing out, that there are no stipulated criteria by which you can determine the TRL. So from ideation to some sort of proof of principle, that is actually a very subjective thing that reviewers have to gauge for themselves, because they know the domain and they know what level it is. But it has been my experience that if there is a crude prototype or technology that is supported by some amount of data, that is what gets supported. And often the TRL level, I don't think that being at an advanced TRL level actually helps you. It often hinders you, because the expert panel often says that they should move on to the next grant. And I'm sure as a reviewer, you've also suggested, when you've seen that there is a functional product and they just want to scale up or something, you've probably suggested that they move on to the next grant. So I don't know if that answered your question, but
True. No, and can I just ask another supplementary and
yes,
related question? And that is,
yes.
I'm a part of Department of Science and Technology, Government of Gujarat, and we encourage candidates to apply for BIG. What we did in initial few rounds was we used to help them with Fto analysis and put up a report of Fto analysis, which would help the reviewers. Would you suggest, or would you advise us to also take up possibly some due diligence in terms of TRL, or some due diligence in terms of business model, or something that would help the reviewers, or it, I mean, please feel free to advise as a proactive government that we would want, because see, not many candidates from Gujarat eventually would want to take up the competitive grant writing like this. They have easier money through investors flowing in, but we want them to appear in this national grid, competitively win over and earn some grants instead of, there's a difference between getting money and earning money. So this is that earning when it is peer reviewed and so on. So what will you advise us, FTO analysis or anything beyond that, please?
That's actually a very good suggestion and question mixed in one, and I'll just answer it step by step. I agree with your last point that applying for grants like this, like I mentioned earlier, gives your product or technology national visibility, and it also opens other doors. It connects you to a nationwide network that you can then leverage for your product. So I would highly ask you to recommend this grant, and to all participants, I would highly recommend this as a first stage grant. Now, coming back to your question about determining TRL level and whether you should help your applicants determine better where their TRL level is, I personally don't think it's that important, because all you have to, for this grant, make sure that your product is not already launched or at a stage where it is ready to be launched. So say if you're coming up with a drug formulation, the formulation should not already be completed and tested. Then you've moved beyond the scope of the grant. But if you've developed something initially and that could help, and it is not yet the MVP, there is more refinement to be done, there is more validation to be done, this is the grant for you. And I think with experienced people like you as part of these institutes, I think you will be able to guide them to see whether their product is still within the scope of big, because pushing them for a higher TRL level will actually hinder their chances. They should have sufficient data to back their claims, but yet not show a product development that will push them beyond the scope. Coming to the Fto analysis, I'm really grateful for incubators like yours who provide service, because this is one aspect that hinders a lot of applications, because applicants are unclear about the novelty of their product. They're unclear about whether they even have FTO in certain domains. And because they are at such initial stages, they don't have a good understanding of that. And that is where they suffer a lot in stages of evaluation, when they are looking at the commercial potential very strongly. And so I would ask you to keep up the good work and really help applicants with that in your network.
Thank you so much. That really, thank you. And I'll connect with you offline.
Yes, please do. I'm answering another question from Indrani Karunasagar. Does an academic partner necessarily have to be a shareholder in the company to submit a big grant? Okay, you're talking about an academic partner, and no, an academic partner does not need to be a shareholder in any company. Eventually, what will happen is if you don't have a startup and you've applied, if I'm interpreting your question correctly, and you've applied as an individual, as a part of the big mandate within those 18 months, you have to incorporate a company. So you will have a startup at the end of the successful big grant tenure. In case of SINE as a big partner, if you are a successful big grantee through us, we get you to incorporate the company before we even start disbursing the funds. So I don't know if that answers your question. No, you do not have to be have a company when you apply, or be a shareholder in a company. You can apply as an individual, and that is quite all right. Okay, I think there is a question from Vivekanand. Kattimani, please unmute yourself and ask the question. Okay, while that issue gets resolved, Lakshminath, can you unmute yourself and please ask your question? Yes, please go ahead. Okay, you're still not audible. He's unmuted. If we're having some issues with Vivekanand and Lakshminath, we're unable to hear them. So if anybody else has a question, you can raise your hand in the meantime, and I can address that before moving back to them. If you're having any issues with your microphone or something, you can also post your question in the chat box or the Q&A box. There is a question from Shushmita Chatterjee. Can I apply for the grant after patenting the idea? Absolutely, you can. And you should mention the application number, or if it is a granted patent, references to it, both in the written part of the application and when you're defending it in front of the technical expert panel. That actually will favor your application. There's another question from Namdev after product development, whether we have to give any rights to incubation center or just their charges. Now, this is a very critical point that I want to make, and I hope everybody's paying attention. The incubation that you're doing as during your big grant, any IP that you develop during that grant, during that period lies with you, not with the incubator, because you have a separate agreement that is a big agreement with your incubator and with BIRAC for the execution of your big grant. Okay, so this is not like a regular incubation agreement that you have with your incubator where there is some sort of equity sharing. This is for big, and this is a special agreement, and you do not have to share anything with your incubation center. Only post big, when your product is ready, if they select you as part of if they provide you further incubation support, you will enter into a separate agreement with them at that point and share and do the necessary equity sharing. There's another, okay, so Lakshminath, I think, has posted his question. Hi, I'm currently working as a research collaborator with an Italian university with a short-term contract that ends by mid-December. Do I still need to get an NOC? No, since you're not employed with an academic institution within the country, there is no question of an NOC. You just apply as an individual, and if you're a successful grantee, the money should be transferred to your no-lien account. But you still have to identify an incubator in which you will do the work. And hopefully you'll return back to the country by then.
Good evening, Dr. Bharti ma'am.
Yes.
Dr. Vivekanand here.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, so I have a quick query. This year I am a big grantee. So within 18 months, if you are going to complete, it's well and good. If you won't complete, then what will be the fate of the project?
So there might be certain delays that are beyond your control. And there again, once you're a successful big grantee at every stage, whether it be moving around funds or extending your project, sufficient justification needs to be provided, and the approval has to be sought. So for instance, for extension of the project, whatever your reasons are, have to be approved by BIRAC. All the other fund moving around and all of that, the big partner has to approve. But big changes like extension of your project beyond the 18 months has to be BIRAC approved with proper justification.
Okay, thank you very much. One more query is, because whatever the amount sanctioned by BIRAC is not sufficient, we are working on a medical device. So if the CDSCO is going to, because there is a hurdle for approval of a CDSCO for a medical device, so how much time it will take, we don't know. And the money which is going to be released by BIRAC is a very meager amount, and we have to invest ourselves to get into the market. Then in those conditions, how we have to work it out?
Unfortunately, if the grant does not pay for getting such certification and all, like, so you have to unfortunately raise funds from some other sources in that case.
Thank you very much.
There's a question from Neetu Roy. In the individual application, can there be a co-investigator from other academic institutions, such as a PI from a different institution? Now, Neetu, like the way you framed this question itself tells me that you're more familiar with research grants. Please note that this is very different from a research grant. Okay, so there are no there is a principal investigator, but there are no co-investigators. Because when you're applying as an individual, the people that you are mentioning who are part of your team will actually will either be co-founders eventually when you have a startup, or be part of your team, or either your employees or a part of your founding team for your startup. So if that is an academic from another institution, that is up to you. So unlike a research grant, here BIRAC is not does not have any stipulations against that. But you just have to remember that you for execution of the project as a startup, this person who belongs to another institution should at least be in the same geographical location, or you all should be able to, as a startup, execute this project for which you've been given the funds for. If there are no other questions, so just once more, I'm giving everybody a chance to raise their hands and ask a question if they have one. I think we've already answered a question from Lakshminath. Yeah, okay, you want to ask a question live, please go ahead. Unmute yourself and go ahead. We can't hear you. So you can, sorry. Yes, we can hear you now.
Hi, sorry, I think I forgot to lower the hand. Sorry, I already asked my question.
Oh, okay. Next it's Srijit. Can you unmute yourself and ask your question, please?
Sure, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to know, you mentioned about the multi review process for the big grant. I just wanted to know how long does it normally take, and will it be done within a month? Will it take a couple of months? I just want to know where my prototype will be by the time the second round of review starts.
The evaluation process takes up to 3 months. So ideally what happens is, like I said, there are 2 calls, right? So if a call is announced on January 1st, say, we try very hard to finish it within the 3 months and have results out by March, say, so you'll know that you're a successful grantee by March. Now, after that, the due diligence process and other aspects depends on how quickly you're moving and how much funds there is available with your big partner. If they can immediately disperse funds to you, you can start your work right away. But often there are issues like funds crunch, so the big partner might not yet have received the funds to disperse for that particular cycle, or there might be other issues. For instance, if you've not incorporated a company, those and your big partner requires you to do so right at the onset, then that also takes some time. So there have been a lot of delays, but currently you know that the conditions are much constrained by this pandemic, right? So there have been delays, but ideally within 3 to 4 months, within 3 months the decision will be made, and hopefully within a month or 2 you should get your first tranche. And these are again under ideal conditions.
Right. So if I believe the last date of registration is September 15th, right?
Yes.
So once that is over, I believe it should take at least 1 month, maybe.
No, it will take more than a month. So you can expect sorry.
I was asking for the next level of interview, it will take at least a month.
Yes, a month or more. 1.5 months, because I told you the first 2 stages are PSC, and you also have to understand some of the delays are also that say the big partner is doing some activities on their end, and then the results are being sent to BIRAC, who have to approve those results, and then we have to communicate them. So all of that back and forth takes always bleeds a couple of weeks here and there. And so from the PSC stage getting to the to finishing the online review stage, often it takes 1.5 months. And then the TEP and the ESC, those are pretty quick. They happen within the next 2 months. So if say you finish your application by September 15th, you can expect the results from this cycle to be announced by early December.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. There's another question in the chat box. Okay, it's about sharing the presentation. Yes, we will try to share either the recording or the presentation. And if we are uploading it on YouTube, please check our YouTube channel too. You can find the recording there. Okay, with that, I think I will call this session to an end. I again thank all our participating big associate partners and ecosystem partners who have been so gracious to agree to organize this session with us at quite short notice. And I thank all the participants who took time off their schedule to join this session and learn more about this grant. I encourage all of you to please select SINE as your big partner, and we will make this process easier for you, and we will help you win a big grant to the best of our ability and the ability of our team. And so we hope to hear more from you in the near future. The chat box has our contact details, and for any big related queries, please reach out to us. And for incubation support and other mentoring support, you can also reach out to each of our participating associate and ecosystem partners. With that, I thank you all again. It has been a pleasure to host all of you today. And I call this meeting to an end. Thank you very much.